Welcome to the Bourbon Van. I'm Phil.
I'm Julie.
It's Whiskey in the Van Wednesday, and today we are trying Jim Beam Black Extra Aged. A little over a week ago, we released a video called The Perfect $250 Beginner Bourbon Collection, and we thought we did a pretty good job. But we heard from several of you that one of our picks was not the most beloved of whiskeys, and that was the Four Roses Yellow Label 80 proof whiskey. And Julie, moderately offended because that's her original gateway. We still feel very strongly that that is a solid beginner bourbon, especially for the price, about $24. Well, we heard from many of you, and multiple people recommended this bottle to replace that bottle. This is Jim Beam Black Extra Aged, sells for $25 here in Oregon, is 86 proof, and word on the street, although it's not age stated on the bottle, is that this is somewhere between 6 and 8 years aged. In fact, most places seem to agree that this is an 8-year aged product.
We like a little Jim Beam around here, and with the 86 proof point, it's pretty comparable to that Four Roses, depending where your palate lies.
For years, when we first started drinking, we kept the white label Jim Beam on the shelf, probably like most of you. And it wasn't until the last 10 years that we kind of expanded our palate, and in the last couple years that it expanded greatly, obviously. But this Jim Beam Black is just something we've never taken a closer look at, never even considered it. So this recommendation obviously comes from subscribers, people commenting on that video, and so we're going to give it a shot because we're all ears. If enough of a consensus is out there that something is really good, we want to know what we're missing, and if we can recommend something to new drinkers, we always are eager to find out what that might be. Today's screw top. Nothing wrong with that. We're not snobs. Some of the better whiskeys on the shelf are screw tops. So we have it poured, and we're going to talk nose, palate, and finish. Afterwards, we'll talk value and a little bit of comparable bottles, although I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole because there's just so many great bottles in that $20 to $25 range, and so much of it comes down to personal preference. But let's find out if our palates prefer this one.
All right, let's do it.
Onto the nose.
It does have a lovely nose. So it's very caramely, very vanilla-y.
Little cola. Yeah, vanilla, like a custard. It's nice. Honestly, it kind of smells like walking into a rick house where the barrels have been stored and some of them are leaking just a little bit, and all those flavors sort of come together. You really kind of get a rick house experience here on the nose. And
you do get a little of that Jim Beam nose.
Yeah, that shows up.
There's
for sure.
a little nuttiness buried in there too.
Yeah, like sort of a spicier shortbread, nutty thing. Right off the bat, I kind of think of the Old Tub, although this is a lot more subtle than Old Tub.
I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah. Hey, cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for the reco. It's very caramely. Ooh, very caramely.
Little caramel apple there.
Ooh, it's like melted caramel.
Yeah.
Ooh, caramel apple, yeah.
For 86 proof, there's kind of more heat here than I expected. There's some ethanol on this.
Yep.
Very thin. It crosses your palate and it's gone. It's caramel apple, vanilla, a little nuttiness, and some toasted marshmallow. You get a nice...
It is caramel apple-y.
A nice char here from the barrel.
Ooh, there is some ethanol in there. That's surprising at that 86 proof point, but I always say this, you don't ever feel it, but it comes gets you back up in the nose.
It affects you.
I know. Not hard to drink it at all. It was just surprising for that proof point.
Yeah, and now the nose continues to open up. Caramel apple is all I'm getting on the nose now.
It is very thin on the palate, but it does have a pretty medium type finish. Like it almost feels a little viscous on the roof of my mouth. Yeah,
it's strange. It doesn't hang around on your tongue on the actual palate, but
and viscous isn't the right word, but
no, it seems to get everywhere though.
Yeah,
into the nooks and crannies.
Yeah,
the flavor seems to wash out of your mouth pretty quickly, but the finish, like you said, sort of a medium finish. It hangs around. Caramel, vanilla, some of that caramel apple is there, some of the nuttiness. There's still spice here. There's some black pepper, I would say.
Yeah.
Hanging around, causing trouble.
Yeah.
The pepper seems to be cumulative. The more I sip of this, the more I find pepper.
Well, I was gonna say that my first sip or two, it was more sweet, so very much caramely vanilla, and now I'm getting more of that nuttiness, like that Jim Beam stamp of approval, I guess. Like I can get that kind of flavor on my last couple sips here.
Yeah, they have. You kind of expect that from Jim Beam, and you get it here for sure. I could see how somebody could suggest this as a beginner whiskey. I get it. I think it drinks hotter than Four Roses, certainly.
Yeah.
It would be hard for me to recommend this over the Four Roses Yellow Label as a beginner bourbon, I think, especially for the price point being about the same.
They're very different.
They're very different. Again, we mentioned it earlier. I think it comes down very much to preference and availability. Both of those whiskeys we think are pretty readily available out there. Jim Beam probably has greater distribution. It does have a building heat though.
Yeah, this one drinks a little bit warmer. I'm thinking about that Four Roses. It's been a minute since I've had it, but it's a little bit more floral, a little bit more light in flavors, like a little bit more, subtle, and I would say bright, but it's just kind of like a light, bright, florally, caramely taste, where this seems like it's more of like a richer caramel.
Yeah.
Those vanillas are still there.
There's dark flavors here.
Yeah,
There's
darker.
Oak, caramel, some brown sugar, deep vanilla, like real vanilla flavor, like dark vanilla bean, and sugary sweetness too. There's some like maybe a bitter dark chocolate with a marshmallow and maybe even a graham cracker or something like that. There's definitely something to like here.
I don't dislike this. Like I think this is a solid whiskey.
Yeah, if you're watching this going, what are they doing? Tasting Jim Beam stuff. Don't be a snob.
Yeah.
Be cool. It's definitely not top shelf by any means, but that doesn't mean it's not satisfying. This is still pretty solid whiskey. I think that takes us to a discussion on value. For $25, 86 proof bourbon, I don't hate that price point. I think that likely, like I said, a lot of you are probably getting this cheaper, and I would like to see it a few dollars cheaper, but I honestly can't complain. It's flavorful, has a medium finish that hangs around and gives you a
nice heat.
Nice heat. It gives you a satisfying experience. I don't dislike this bottle. I think $25 is very fair, and if you can get it for $20 to $22 even, we know we've seen it on sale in the past. Value-wise, I don't have a problem with this at all.
No.
Comparable bottles, I mean, there's just so many. There's a ton. I mean, I think it's a good idea to talk about the ones that relate to this discussion as part of that $250 bourbon beginner's collection.
Yeah, 86 proof-ish.
Yeah.
Lower proof.
And bottles that we considered, Four Roses Yellow Label, of course. We intended to include that as something you could share with new bourbon drinkers, something very easy to drink, readily available. This fits that category. I think it's, like we both said, it drinks a little hotter than Four Roses. I still stand by the Four Roses Yellow Label. I still think that for most people it's going to appeal more than this bottle will.
I'm actually surprised by how much I'm enjoying this. I don't know why maybe I'm just standing strong with that Four Roses because that was my gateway baby.
Yeah, it's personal preference.
Yeah.
And it's your personal history with a bottle. There's no doubt that there's some tribalism in bourbon.
Yeah.
Other bottles that are sort of in that category, I would say McKenna 80 proof is comparable. That one also drinks just a little warmer than its proof point. I would say that Old Forester 86, which is one that we didn't really include for that discussion because it's 86 proof and we were specifically looking at 80 proof whiskeys. I think that's a pretty solid competitor. If you like that Old Forester funk, the Old Forester 86 proof is a couple of dollars cheaper than this, at least here in Oregon, and that would probably be my buy. The 86 has kind of a nice honey sweetness, Old Forester sort of thing going on with a lot of brown sugar and vanilla. So, but again, I don't think that there's anything wrong with any of those. They're all pretty comparable bottles, and they all come down to flavor preference, to personal preference. And this is a situation of what's not to like. For that money, are there other bottles you can get? Yes. Are there better bottles that you can get? Probably, especially when you consider all the bottled and bond products that we haven't even brought up because they don't really fit that category of the beginner drinker for beginners. Yeah, we're talking lower proof. Can you get bottled and bond Evan Williams for $15? Sure. But one of the other bottles that we will be talking about soon is Evan Williams Black Label, which was also brought up in that conversation by multiple people. So stay tuned. In a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about that. Maybe next week, I'm not sure. But this is the bottle that we wanted to talk about today because we haven't talked about a lot of Jim Beam. Old Cub and Old Grandad and stuff like that. We like Jim Beam products, but we hadn't brought up any actual Jim Beam branded stuff. So we wanted to show it some love today, and I'm glad that we did.
Me too. I'm pleasantly surprised by how much I'm enjoying it. And I think, again, we're always looking for great outdoor / bourbon van type, bring them on the road.
Yeah.
And this might be a good competitor.
You got me thinking about barrel char and marshmallows and s'mores, and this might be a solid campfire bottle. That Jim Beam profile, for some reason around a campfire, it really stands out. We love Old Grandad bonded around campfires, and something like this might stand out. So you'll probably see this bottle more in the future on our channel. But let us know, have you tried this bottle? What's your favorite Jim Beam expression? There's Double Oaked, there's Red Stag, there's regular Jim Beam, there's 50,000 flavors out there.
True.
Let us know what your favorite Jim Beam product is. People keep telling us about Bonded. The Bonded was actually discontinued in our area, so we have not seen it. Let us know, do you like Jim Beam? What's your favorite Jim Beam expression? Like, comment, subscribe. Join us on Patreon for exclusive live streams and bonus content. Check us out on Instagram at The Bourbon Van, and from wherever we are.
To wherever you are.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's go start a fire.